Hey, everybody, it's Forrest once again with Thriving Past 50. And one of my best friends, Mr. Brian Vaughn of Vaughn Financial. Hey, Brian.
Hey, Forrest. Good to see you,
Welcome.
brother.
Welcome to the program, man. I've just gotten such a kick out of this fertile time in life. And why do I mean? I've had a kind of some scary cancer news recently that has had me I'm going to just throw away any distractions. I'm going to just live happy and live with my wife and go better. I'm feeling like $1 million. So it's cool. And what it is, I had some fears, and that's what you and I are going to talk about. How do we
Right.
talk about our life and some of our own mortality, but fears about money? That's one of the things you do, and I just love how you talk about it. So you help people with their fears.
Yeah, that's the counterintuitive part of what I do. I think the more common human urge that people have when they think of financial advisors is the greed end of the spectrum. Like, hey, man, what do you got that's good? Give me something good.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about that, listen about that. But it's the other end of the spectrum that I find that I'm doing some things that are much more impactful. And that's what are you afraid of?
Uh,
And sometimes, like, I'm afraid of my portfolio going down in value, but sometimes it's more rudimentary than that. Like, shoot, what if I run out of money?
yeah. Yeah.
And then we get to the real stuff that you and I talked about. Man, what if something terminal happens? What if I get terminally ill
Yeah.
or die? And so those things like that I can protect that. And the part that maybe is not obvious is that how do we protect your wealth so that if something does happen, whether it's either you can use some of that in a smart way to take care of yourself so
Nice.
that you
Yeah.
continue to live without ruining your retirement and protect us. So protection, risk protection is something that I focus on. And when I get people to come back off the greed spectrum, unless, oh wait, maybe you're not so much helping me with that, but you can help me alleviate my fears. Tell me more, BB.
You know what? This is so good, Brian, because when I got some of this news, I mean, I've had skin cancer in Hawaii. I had it for years, and yeah, no big deal. I got some melanoma. That's not good. All of a sudden, it's advancing. And I go, you know what? I may have limited time. And I had all this rush of fear. And
Yep.
now, with good doctoring and more calming down, I'm way more alive. But I sure want to cut out distractions. And you are kind of guy that can help me do that. And, all those vague, unspoken fears, like,
Mhm.
I can have enough money to live as long as I'm going to live. And I mean, how do people even think about that? Right?
We can't get it wrong way. I mean, we're humans are our own worst enemies,
Yeah.
and uh, so it's still a fascinating thing. And I come from a perspective of uh, being just like everybody else. I'm not a career financial advisor.
Right.
I was in my mid 40s when I decided, this is something that can be really impactful, and I kind of uh, stumbled into it in that I was going through a transition, having been in technology for years and was
Sure.
transitioning out of that, looking to do something that I was already had in my mind. I want to do something that's more personal,
Nice.
not just databases and corporate adjustments
Yeah.
and returns, but how could I impact real people? And then my financial advisor, and I use that very sarcastically, he
Yeah.
was just a guy in a statement. He was not a personal
Yeah.
connection at all. And I thought, there's a way to make a difference
Ah,
because he wasn't interested in me personally. Well, I am very interested in people and their stories,
yeah.
whatever they're dreaming about, but also what they're worried about. Fill me in, include me. And if I can be a trusted listener, understander, and
Yeah.
I can see what you're dealing with and I can hear what you really mean, maybe we can make some good decisions. And then you just lean back and,
Oh boy. Well, I'll tell you something. When I had my electronics company, 120 employees, I had Keyman Life Insurance. Larry would take us to lunch and drink scotch at lunch, and he would tell us about, the value. And I go, well, whatever. But in these days, the evolution of some of these insurance products is quite remarkable and surprising me. But I think the key thing that you do is you're there, you're present, you're fun. And everybody that looks at your media and your website and all that kind of stuff, which we'll share, gets to see you as a human being. And this guy, Larry, he was fine as a insurance salesman, but there's a lot more to it. So
yep.
yeah, that's nice. That's great. Well, and I'm just so honored to be a part of the North Lake Washington Business Connection, which is a group you put together 20 or 30 people who really care about each other. And it's a human group. It's business done with human touch. And I think it's so good. And I love how you lead that.
Yeah, we brought that together because we wanted not just lead sharing, but really personal connections. And we want each of those people to feel part of something, to
Nice.
feel connected.
Yeah.
And so it's because we're all a member of clubs or charities, all good things.
Sure.
But man, if you feel like you're really a part of something, I think that's just part of human nature to be tribal. And if somebody, again, they get you, they see you, they understand what you're about. And here's the real, the meat is when they can learn how to advocate properly in a way that really is meaningful and helpful. And we all want that. Think about when you had your best friend, somebody, why was in your fifth grade, whoever your best friend was,
Yeah. Yeah.
and why was that person, where was he or she your best friend? Because they got you. And if they were telling your story, they tell it right.
They
And
tell it right. And they
tap
respect.
into some of that when
Yeah.
I meet people that we might become, might be a professional relationship, but also when they tell the story, I want to get it, understand, get it right so that we can, you know, carry on that legacy and then keep the story going.
You know what, Brian? And it's such a good, different vibe than the so-called financial planner task about choosing the right stocks or whatever that's all about. I just love how you do it, and to me, it's relevant in my life big time. Again, with this health news, I got to be real smart about how long I'm going to be around. How I'm going to make the best use of my money, and working on some new income sources. That's all good. But in the meantime, if I wasn't able to work, ooh, scary. Yeah.
Of course, I don't know if you noticed that I don't use a title much anymore on some of my websites, but I just say, what do I do? I help people with retirement income and life insurance.
Good.
And because and I found that when I use the word financial advisor or retirement consultant,
Yeah.
it tends to shut people. They're less apt to lean in and say, well, what do you really do? So I decided to say, this is what I do. This is the kind of thing I help people with.
Think
And
it's
you're right to pick up on that living benefits. That's another, it's counterintuitive. Wait, you don't have to die to use this. Yeah, if you do it right, that's something we can do for you.
well, and folks will want to tune you into his website, to Brian's website, because I saw a testimonial of a couple. The guy was a little bit older, kind of red haired like me, and he had had a bad health reversal. And in his living benefits policy, he was able to draw some cash out while he couldn't work for a few months, and then he got back on track. It's like, I never heard such a thing. It was really a peace of mind kind of example, right?
Love it. Yeah, that's when I became a part of the group, that's the Living Benefits Experts. And there you can see, so we'll see the website, Living Benefits Experts /Vaughn Financial.
Yeah.
But that's where we talk about that kind of thing and how do we utilize those tools and design the right way. And they could be just term insurance is quite low cost, very affordable way to protect you.
Sure.
That can also be turned into some or all of that can include it has an investment feature, a growth that can grow based on underlying markets. We can talk more about that. So there are two aspects of that living benefits life insurance: low cost term that has a limited period of time, and some that can be permanent life insurance that can grow with downside protection and still have that living benefits feature. So pretty great that I can offer two aspects of that. And the thing that I want to add that, we do through my team, we have the shorter term kinds of investment solutions that people think about. Yeah, Brian, but if I want to invest for 5 years in the stock market, we can help you with that too. Those are good questions.
Sure.
But I don't lead with that because I want people to feel like, ooh, okay, it's a great feeling. We got this retirement is in. Now we can be more comfortable and confident about these other opportunistic kinds of investments that my team and I help people with. But that's the second layer of conversation. First, let's help you feel protected.
Well, what's really cool too is through North Lake, Washington, your connection over there, you've got really good high-end tax bookkeeper. You've got a estate planning lawyer working with you. You've got fabulous real estate resources, of course, as well. That whole idea of teaming up and giving people a trusted group rather than them having to shop it all on their own. So I love what you're doing.
One of the best aspects of a team happened when I had my own health awakening a year ago, just over a year ago. Yeah. That really I now feel was a gift. That first of all, it was really miserable while I was going through it, but now that I've come through that and I've got, like you, I've got a bunch of doctors on my side, so it feels great that there's such a thing as healthcare professionals who are looking out for me. So I don't take things for granted. But that experience for us, having the cancer word become part of my life,
Yeah.
I feel like I've got a long runway now, but I can't take things for granted.
Yeah.
To get to the stage
Can't
at
take it
60.
for granted. There's no promises, and it makes you a more kind-hearted listener and more open-hearted. And I've met financial people who don't have a heart in play, and I think that's really important.
And there was a time to that point. There was a time I thought, man, I wish I'd started doing this in my 20s or 30s or 40s. Well, I did start in my 40s, but I think having had a life experience brings to clients and that the life experience. I know what it's like to deal with some things. I've had, uh, great things and had setbacks, and how do we manage that to be sympathetic to that, so help people make good decisions. And really did it just highlighted the urgency of all of these things. This stuff that I'm doing really is impactful to people, so I'm very proud that I discovered that I could do this.
Nice.
It's not just like I'm selling Toyotas to people and they need, but no, there's this what's I want people to lean in because it's not intuitive.
Yeah.
Wait, this can really change your life and really help people feel relief. And I want them to understand that. So and no is okay,
Yeah.
but I want to help them make sure they understand what they're saying yes or no to, and that's what I like to focus on.
You know what? It's such a good takeaway. Thanks so much for being with us here. Because again, as people look to thrive past 50, what does that mean? And many, many, many Americans, as you know, do not have enough financial base for how long they're going to live. And what are they going to do? Well, anyway, you're one of the guys that can help talk that through and talk about options that can be, sophisticated as well. But just the personal connection with you. What's the best way for folks to contact you?
An easy thing, we have a website that we can just yell across the room. That's 206-4800tax.com.
Okay.
And that goes through to my core website where all my contact information is there. And at the very top of that website says schedule a conversation.
Good.
And then there's no cost, no obligation. Just that's a way to say, hey, Brian, here's what I was going through. Here's what's going on in my life.
Yep.
You think there might be some way you can help me? And let's just figure it out. We
Good.
might say, sure, let's do some other work. Or we might say, I give some initial feedback and we check in later. But that's the first date kind of approach. And either of us might say, this is probably not a good fit. Or I might say, oh, I'm so glad you checked in because here's some things to think about. Let's set up this other time and continue the conversation and have some fun.
I can, and you do it with a good sense of aloha too. The shared history in Hawaii, you got a little bit of that brother thing going. Brian Vaughn Financial, I love you, brother. I'm so glad to have this time with you. Thanks so much.
Mahalo, brother.
Great.
Till next time.